Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread and forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. As it was in the beginning, is now, ever shall be, world without amen. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are. Welcome to Dreamy Dreamland. This is your Sensei Owl Bob, and I'm here out in the deep green. And it's been snowing. I haven't seen you guys in a while because it's been every time I try to get out, it snows. About 3 weeks ago, maybe less, maybe more, maybe 2 weeks, maybe a week and a half. I mean, time has lost all its meaning to me. It said light snow, and we had 10 inches. And then every 2 or 3 days, it would snow some more. And then it got really cold. So that, 12, 14 inches of snow that was there froze into a big freaking ice cube. And there's no way of going through that, even with four-wheel drive and chains. So I had food, electricity. If the electricity don't go out, I don't die. And so that's all good, right? So, and it's all good, right? And I'm good until, oh, end of February, you know. Hopefully, I mean, this is I've been here 20 years. And this is the first winter I've been here, right? And everyone said it's the worst winter in 20 years. So, and what's really strange is that, it kind of snows everywhere else a little bit, an inch or two. Here it gets 4 inches, 10 inches, 20 inches. And it's supposed to calling for snow tonight and all Sunday into Monday, and then snow Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and the next week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then next week, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So that'll be interesting. And again, it may not snow here, at the deep green. It may get it all down in Boone because it was calling for big snow in places like Banner Elk, and they didn't get any, and I got 10 inches, So hopefully it'll warm up. I mean, so it was like, almost 50 today when it was sunny. Now it's clouding over and it'll probably snow. Start raining, sleeting, then raining, then snowing in the next hour or two. So I'm going to talk. I got myself a special little container for my laptop, so it's will stay dry. So I'm gonna but I do have to walk back 2 miles. And the other thing, I didn't come here in the last week or so or more, is that the path up here was all ice. So it's pretty hard for me, a 71-year-old guy, walking the up and down these hills on ice for 2 miles. I mean, like I said, it has been rainy and semi-sunny the last 3 days, and one day was in the 50s. So pretty much, except for where it was super icy, um, it kind of melted. Not, it's still all over the place, but it's not like, that deep. A lot of places where there's dirt, like where most of the road, except the top of the hill, which is covered by trees, and the morons who were on it at the beginning of the storm just had bald tires and wee up the hill, and one car crashed, and the other two got out, and they turned that into all the snow that was falling was like pushed onto the road, and then then it got 8 inches of snow on top of that, and then it got minus 28 degrees for 5 days. So that's still 60 feet of sheet of ice. I just walked up there this morning, and it's still about that thick of ice, hard. And it was sunny, and it was 42 degrees, not melting. And now it's overcast, and like I said, gonna start. It's dropped about 10, 15 degrees, and I did all the things to prepare for the big snow. And so I, said, well, probably won't snow for at least an hour or two. So I'm going to walk up over to my neighbor's house and see if I can. And I could. And here I am. And we're into this at 5 minutes and 15 seconds. And so when you are alone for as long as I am, and um, someone asked me the other day, don't you get bored? And I say, no, I have books to read. I'm writing novels. I take walks, you know, I sit in the sun when the sun is there. And and I've gotten, I mean, even though I'm pretty philosophical about things, I've gotten even a better, a lot of people said, oh, like all the other neighbors until I got snowed in here and they couldn't come and see if I was here, and I couldn't go see them. Uh, Basically, earlier in mid-January, and we had a really big snowstorm in Christmas, which was really pretty. Right, we had about 8 inches Christmas Eve into Christmas Day, and then it got real sunny. It was beautiful, right? And that stuck around about a week and a half, and then it kind of melted, and I could get around. And towards the end, last mid, third end of the third week of January, I we had another snowstorm, so I kind of got stuck here. And then just at the end of January, it melted enough. We had a couple warm days, and I could get out, and I did a few errands, got some food, and got back. And it snowed, I think, either the last day of January or first or second day of whatever that Monday was. And it snowed, 8 inches, and so. And then it snowed again, and then it got real cold, and then it snowed again, and here we are. And that was only in about 6 days. So, and it's supposed to snow every other day for the next 2 weeks or so, and then it'll probably go to 80, because before all of this happened, we had one day, we had half a week where it got to be 50, 60, and then that Friday and Saturday it was in the 70s and sunny. Then we had a wicked ass. That's when Alabama or someplace had tornadoes, right? And I could see them from here, not the tornadoes, but I could see, and I couldn't see the lightning, but it lit the sky up like you couldn't believe. And the thunder was so strong. I live on the earth. I don't live in a house that has, a foundation that has, that insulates me from vibrations or such. So I kind of live on the earth. I have Cadillac camping. And it would have been nice if my neighbor here gave me the key. He said, oh, you should stay in my house. I'm not going to be here. I said, great. That's all. Well, really, thank you. So he's got all kinds of food in there and like 8 years of toilet paper. I'm down to my last roll. So I'm like what the caveman did. I use my hands, and then I wash my hands. The Indians also do that. I think when I was in India, 40 years ago, they did. Anyway, that's why you were supposed to just use this hand to wipe your bunghole, and this one, or use this one to do your bunghole, and this one to shake people's hands. So anyway, I have learned to appreciate what I've been given, and in a way, if I was in this guy, I'd be eating a guy's. I mean, all he has in there is carbohydrates. He has pasta like you can't believe, but it's really great pasta, But it's it would kill me, right? So, and a lot of ring dings and lean cuisine meals, and so I would probably right now I'm still losing because all I'm doing is eating vegetables. I'm down to eating the stuff in the forests. I've gone around before the last big snowstorm. I went around and picked up all the dandelions that were still around. The greens. The spiky leaves of a dandelion, and they keep growing in the wintertime, and the snow kind of protects them. It's like their greenhouse. So I went around and picked a big basket of dandelions, and that's pretty much all I've been eating. And I really love people on the herbalist. Yeah, good luck with that. Why don't you go out and? So I've been, making teas of barks, of the different, bloodroot and there's loads of plants around here because this was all old timer farmer land, and so they had all kinds of every kind of root. And the morons have kind of the easy ones, they just went after ginseng and just picked it dry. And because Grandma always said, only pick 5% of a patch. You know, the old, when I really learned herbalism, it was from the old crone, right? And so, once I got there and got settled, those 4 months I spent, the first 4 months, she was seeing if I was going to be her adept, right? Following her footsteps. Um, first I chopped wood, then I kept the fires. Then I made sure that, the well, I got water, I carried the water. I did all those things. And then she started, and at night she would teach me about herbs and plants and the Celtic dynamic and, the allopathic and the homeopathic and the, medical, the Greek terms and such. And pretty much all the medicines that we have come from nature. And then, Big Pharma learned how to synthesize them. Let's see. We're into it for 11 minutes, and how many? 3 people are watching. How about some thumbs up? Good morning, good evening. Welcome to Dreamy Dreamland with me, your sensei, Al Bob. And I put a mitten on so it looks just like the thumbs up on my little screen. So give me some thumbs up. And go to my xratted.blogspot.com, which is my Griot Publishing. And there's tons of novels and stories and essays about everything you can think of, all my stories. And I'm working on 2 novels, one called Legacy and one called Legend, right? And Legend has, I'm on my 70th copy of a 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 copy. My little, I have a Chromebook here, and I have to thank the person who gave it to me, but it really sucks because it doesn't really work as groovy as it could. Only, when it's hooked up to the cloud, it's happy. And when I'm down in my holler, I'm not, it's not connected to anything. I can type on it, but if I get more than 20 pages into it, it slows down. I do another 20 page. If I get to 60 pages of writing on it without it being in the cloud, it slows to the point where, I hit a key, I have to wait 20 seconds before it appears on the screen. And that was my main endeavor. I wanted to come and talk to you guys, but the really thing, I wanted to make my little, Chromebook happy by connecting it up with the cloud, so it could dump everything, all of my stuff, everything I have is in the cloud, because it doesn't like to put things on thumb drives, and then, Google has taken half of my YouTube, and, I had to get, and then again, remember, get a hold of me at thedudeawake@gmail. Right, the dudeawake42@gmail, the dudeawake42@gmail, the dudeawake42. No, it's the dudeawake42@gmail, the dudeawake42@gmail, and you can leave me a message, right? And you can also get a hold of my PayPal there, right? And that is what has kept me alive. And thank you for all the folks who have given me a little drop into my PayPal. And a lot, not a lot, but enough of you have given me a donation. And I really, really thank you. I really, it's why I'm still alive. I wouldn't have been able to eat anything, and, wouldn't have been able to be warm. That money helped me buy a can, big tank of LG, propane, and it's all good, And I just found it. We had a sunny morning, so I dug through a pile of clothes, went out in the forest and unpacked some boxes, and I finally found. And the only way I found it was, has any of you ever doused? You have a stick and you kind of, and I doused where it was buried in the woods, and I undug it, and all of my thermal clothes, all my hunting, my big hunting, whoop-de-doo camo, keep can be 20 degrees below zero, and you're toasty, and you can just sit there and smile. I found it, right, and I dug it out. I pulled it out of the box. I pulled it out of the garbage bag. I pulled it out of the go bag it was in. Everything was dry and smelled good, and there wasn't any musty or anything. It still smelled just like I put it in there, uh, you know, 15 years ago. It was pretty amazing. Thank you, thank you, thank you, the lords of everything. So, 15 minutes and 50 seconds, we're into it, and welcome, 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 welcome. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Welcome to Dreamy Dreamland with Sensei Al Bob. I am your sensei, your griot. I tell stories. Stories that will enlighten you, because what they do, I don't tell you anything except it shamanically kind of gets inside of you, and you start to think outside your prejudice, right? And that's what Dreamy Dreamland's all about. Hey, Ride, good to see you. Yep. Thanks for the birthday. Yep. Turned 71. Every day in every way. I love you too, buddy. So what's going on? I mean, I've just been babbling along, waiting for somebody to show up, and here you are. So I'm going to throw out a few things that I want you guys to think about. So have you started to hear the term the reset? Has anyone heard that? How many are you out there? 5. Has anyone heard the term reset? How about you, right? You heard the term reset? And what is the reset? The reset is the rebranding of the tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow. Meaning, in Shakespeare's Hamlet, the last scene, Hamlet's killed everybody. He's now king. He's like on the thing. His only guy left is his buddy, who's really like Ares, who's always just been sticking his finger in him to go do really terrible things. And he's jumping around like monkey, like, oh, we won. Oh, it's all ours. Oh, it's all good. And he goes, Hamlet, what's wrong? You look so depressed. I mean, you're always depressed, but you really look depressed. I mean, we won. Everyone's dead. He goes, I know. So what are you worrying about? He goes, tomorrow. Because what? The problem about tomorrow? He goes, not that tomorrow. It's the tomorrow and 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 the tomorrow. Meaning we are stuck in this meaningless little rope of time. And time doesn't exist. The linear experience is just that. And it comes from this little thing in our snake part of our cerebral cortex. And we've been put in this kind of sandbox for our soul to evolve. And no one seems to be doing much evolving, right? And so every so often, between every 20 to 60 to 100 years, the human race starts to go, something's got to be better than this, right? And then there's a mass of people starting to grow, and bingo, they're about to change the world. And so that 1,100 or so people who own the world, because they're alien, they're not even, humans are alien. We are alien. I'm an alien because we do not. The more you can, and the closer you are to being the Aboriginal in the first person, let's see, Love's Sweet Old Song. Yep, that's what I'm talking about. Love's Old Sweet Song. And that's what we're supposed to be doing, right? So, back, everyone was trying to get away from the Holy Roman Empire, and that's why they started leaving the neighborhood of Europe, right? And it was really just getting more and more corrupt, and the more, every gang was coming into Europe, and a good example is a Khazarian mob. That's what they call themselves, and they were just like ISIS. They had a caliphate, meaning in the Quran, everything. No, that the Quran doesn't talk about taking other people's property and beheading everybody and raping everybody and stealing everybody's stuff. That's not the Quran. Sorry. The book of the Islam, the Muslim religion, is a religion of humility and a religion of hospitality. Whenever you go to a Muslim's house, they give you a cup of tea, And so that's why the English got along with them, kind of, because that's what the English do. The English think just a cup of will take care of any problem, emotionally or physical. You got cancer, we'll have a cup of tea. Not really, but so everybody left or tried to get. I mean, that was kind of why everyone went, on the Crusades, to get away from the Duke and the sheriff and the taxation and the king and all of that stuff. And they went over to somebody else's property and raped and treated those folks like the king treated them, their own people, right? And that's the story of Gilgamesh. Gilgamesh is like half god, half human, and people make him king, and then he mistreats them to the point where they don't really kill him because he's half a god, so they just isolate him on an island, right? And so he's all there by himself. And what does he do? But he turns animals into, through genetic engineering. That's how Enkidu. Enkidu was an animal, and then he, in the book it says, he was not from a woman's thighs, meaning he was a genetically engineered creature, right? So that was Enkidu, and that was his best friend. And the story of Gilgamesh is, at the end of the day, Gilgamesh wants to be the hero, does all these grand things, gets home, and still everyone hates his guts because he's still a jerk. He hasn't learned that his life isn't about him, it's about everybody else. It's the we in me. It's the we in me, right? And so the only person who really knows that is Enkidu. And Enkidu sacrifices himself for his friendship, meaning the best human in the story is Enkidu, an animal. Right. And when I went to Brazil and I met the Nazis in Buzios, who had a hospital, and that's why Buzios was there. Big, fancy, not fancy, but it's where the Euro trash of money, but stupidity went to have a good time, was Brazil. And Buzios is this peninsula that sticks out into the Atlantic. Africa's over there, Europe is over there, and St. Paulo and Rio are about 200 miles south of that. And it's beautiful beaches, just gorgeous. And the Nazis first went there to hide out, right? And all the guys who really, really, really knew genetic engineering and knew that's where you went to have your face and fingerprints changed. Meaning there's that, I don't know if you guys have ever seen the TV show by, what's his name? It was called Fringe, JJ, what's his name, did a TV show called Fringe. And there were two dimensions, right? They were like mirrored image each other, right? And they had the same character on both sides, but they were a little different, right? On our side, our heroine, she was amazing and could do anything, but she was shy and demure and always, let the other, gave the response. The other one was like this goddess, Wonder Woman, who everyone was like, okay, she's in charge. And what's Walter, a brilliant scientist who invents everything, but in our dimension kind of goes crazy because he's doing LSD every day. And the other guy is like more like on target. He's the president of the world. And in it, and the Fringe is really good. I would suggest anybody to go binge it. If they're stuck in their house, go binge Fringe. And kind of by the third season, you start to understand that all this craziness is coming from the other dimension, right? And so you think of the guys, they're invading us. No, what they're doing is coming because we invaded them. Walter went there and did some crazy stuff, and his buddy, who is the character who was Spock, that guy, I forget his name, he became the guy who stayed on the other side. And we get all this super duper technology and send it through the hole to the guys at the Defense Department. And that's where we got cell phones. And then we got this and we got that. And so as these, they send agents into our side, they have this thing that gets stuck into the roof of their mouth. And they will kill someone and stick another little gizmo into the roof of the mouth of the dying person, push the button, boom, and they are the body of that guy who they just killed. And then they'll throw him into the furnace or whatever, get rid of the body. And so, like, then they can become, FBI agents and, governors and senators and presidents, right? And and the Nazis did that in the 30s and 40s. And then they took that technology and went to Brazil, because that's kind of where most of them went to, South America, Argentina et al., Chile. And all those countries were trying to be democracies after the war. And the good old Rockefellers, Nelson Rockefeller, go study Nelson. That guy was a trip. And he was like in charge of mind control during World War II, right? And he was part of OSS. And he was, he then, basically the UN came from the Rockefellers. That strip of property on 2nd Avenue, Rockefeller Foundation was there. They donated. They gave $50 million to build all those buildings and build the infrastructure of the UN, and then gave $100 million to run the UN until they could start fleecing all the other countries of the world. And that's just like the International Monetary Fund and all of those kind of entities, Council on Foreign Relations, Bilderbergs, Club of Rome, Trilateral Commission, all of those guys come from those 1,000 families, and they're all intermarried, right? Virtually all our presidents, or even Obama, was related to George Bush and to Grover Cleveland and Johnson, the guy who came after, who assassinated Lincoln. The only guy who wasn't part of the crew was Lincoln, right? Everybody else, and even Donald Trump genetically is part of those guys. And you don't, unless you're a reptile, you do not become. So, Donald Trump knew what he was talking about when he was talking about the swamp, So here we are, and all of this craziness is you think 2020 was a strange year. 2021 is going to be, because I just read a very interesting report in Lancet, and whenever I go where I can go online, my little Chrome is very nice in that I can go surf the internet, and I can go into comms, and if they offer essays, stories, novels, research papers, I can download it in this thing, up to it, so much. But text, a JPEG is like nothing, right? So that's where I read from, off of this thing. And so I read this great thing in Lancet where when the in Boston hospital there, research hospital, I think it was Harvard's research hospital, they had a guy who got COVID. He was in the ICU. They hooked up machines. He was there for a month, and then he kind of got better, and then he got better, and then they released him, right? Well, about 3 weeks later, he came back, and he had COVID. I mean, he shouldn't, he had really bad COVID. When they took his blood, he had super duper, things in his blood that should have stopped COVID in its tracks, but it didn't. He got it again, and he got it again, and got it again, and got it. In that whole year, he got it like 8 times. And so they started, what's this? And what they found out was that this guy had other problems with him. He had immune deficiency things, and he was taking immune suppressor drugs. Like he had AIDS, he had this, he had that. And he was taking all these kind of immune suppressive drugs. So COVID would get in him and not die all the way, but would this is nice. And it would replicate and replicate and replicate. And it would make different, just like my little computer here. When you look at it, you look at my toolbar and where I have my what I'm working on, and it will, it says copy of a copy of a copy of a copy of a copy. And if I hit it to show the whole thing, so it will fill my whole screen with like 70 copies and then legend number 4. And that's what happened in that guy. And so that one man made 20 variants inside of him, and he would get better, they'd let him go. And they didn't have tests for all those variants. And they found that he came in, back before Christmas, and he was real sick again with COVID. And they had from the WHO copies of these variants, and he started to see the English variant and the South African variant in him, but they were even a little variant from that. So, and then they put that out into all the virology entities around the world, and they started looking for this, and they found all in India and Brazil, really in Brazil, and in England and through Europe, that there are a lot of people who get COVID again, and because it's not that many, it hasn't started a trend, but there's enough for them to, hey, yeah, we had one guy like that, and then they had their blood, and they looked at it and said, uh-oh. So 2020, forget, I got the jab because I'm in that thing, and my doctor, I said, so what about this vaccine? Are you going to take it? He said, no. I said, should I? He goes, well, if I take it, if I do my research and deem it viable, I'll put you on the list because I'm in that age list for him to put me in. So he did. I was like, so I walked in about 3 weeks ago, and he said, oh, we just called you to get your jab. Oh, it's great. Here, why don't you go get it? So I did, because he got it, right? So my doctor got it. It's like, okay, and I'm 71. Who, if I grow another flipper, who cares? So, and I'm not having kids anytime soon. So, I'm not spreading my genetic material anywhere. But the rest of the world, oops, I'm not saying the vaccine isn't good. I took it, right? So it will have a value, but that it's irrelevant almost. I mean, it's not irrelevant. It will, if everyone were to get on it and get it, and because a virus, if it doesn't have a place to go, it dies. That's what happened to SARS. They jumped on it. They had, it was just really lucky because where it popped up in cities that actually had health care for its people. Think of that. And the reason why America, I mean, COVID is really good, and nobody's talking about this, but COVID really shows two things: the level of incompetency of our leadership, and what is our leadership, but what we value. What do we value? Money, not people, not relationships, not love, but money. And that's what COVID shows us. The other thing it shows is that we decimated, once we let HMOs, once we let the profit motive run our medical thing, because we, up until the 70s, we had a relatively fair medical thing, and we had so much money, we could take care of things, right? But, like polio is a good example. They did a lot of research. They found, Salk found it. He went around to other countries and had them make the vaccines themselves, and he didn't charge a nickel for it, not even governments. And that's not what's happening today. Big pharma's making billions, trillions. They're like rubbing their hands, like ooh, like Mr. Burns, ooh, So that's what's going on. And 2021. I mean, look, 6 days into the year, what happened? We had an insurrection, which, again, I don't believe in anything, and I don't think you should believe anything I say, but this show I put on as a shamanic motif, right? So whatever I say kind of gets inside of you. I'm not saying, so guys, when you write stuff, please put it all in capital so I can see it, because I can't really see. Now, maybe two. Good to see you. Looking so well. Greetings from Dublin. Hey, Dublin. Remember your story about your time at Trinity College. Fully looked down here due to COVID. Yep. And that's the other thing. COVID is really doing good at getting people away from each other. So they can't, because here's this time where shamanically, energetically, everyone's going, boy, it's different, because 2012 was when the human race was totally out of the Piscean age and totally into the Aquarian age. What is the Aquarian age? Getting what you need through love. What was the Piscean age? Getting what you think you want of your ego through violence and taking it. And that's what the Catholic Church did when they had the Crusades. They said, it says in the Bible, don't kill anybody, but if you go off into other people's lands and they're black, and they're not Christian, you can kill and take their stuff. And that's all good with the Pope, right? So, and we're in another one of those moments, right? I was when SARS hit, yes, that was one of the places where they reacted amazingly, that they snapped to, and they clamped it down so the virus couldn't go anywhere. But now, CDC says they have documented that over 100 million Americans have been infected, right? And like 89% of them don't show any signs. They don't get sick. So that means a little less than a third of the American population has been infected, has a virus, can be transmissible, but they don't show anything. But that means 1/3 of those guys, so 1/3 of 100 million is what? Like 30 million? There are 30 million Americans going around who go, oh, mask, I don't want to wear it, blah, 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 blah. Mago, mago, mago. They are spreading it like wildfire. And, that's how you get to herd immunity. But because this year, and again, don't believe a word I say, I'm just a guy with a white beard wearing a girl's, and you girls always get the best clothes, a girl's winter coat that's freaking amazing, made out of alien material. I mean, look how thin it is. And it's designed, see how it wicks the moisture out of me and puts it on the surface of my jacket. And the other amazing thing about it, when you catch it on fire, it puts itself out. I mean, I was a little close to my cooking flame, and I smelled something really disgusting. I looked down, and my whole jacket's on fire. And then it turns to a green gas and puts itself out. How amazing is that? Now, if I was a teenager and I was exposed to that green gas, it'd probably give me who knows, in 10 or 15 years, but I'm not worrying. I didn't burn to death, right? And it keeps me amazingly warm, and it keeps me, dry. I mean, it's gonna rain any minute now, and so the moisture in the air, you can see it shiny on my coat. Alien technology, right? So don't believe anything I say. A, I'm wearing alien technology. B, this is a girl's coat, and guys will go, if you're not wearing, camo, which I wear all the time, usually it's pink, because once home, Tractor Supply puts the winter clothes on sale, like in January and February, just when you really need them. I mean, I like it, but the highest price is just before Christmas, right? And I go in there and I buy women's obese camo. So it's camo but pink. I think it's great. I think it's quite charming. I think it's really fashionable, right? Anyway, so 221 is going to be really amazing, but it's a great opportunity. It's just like, as I started off with, I'm out in the middle of nowhere and I can't get off the hill because the last 60 feet before I can get up to a flat road is that steep, and it has been an ice skating rink for the last 3 weeks. It's not going to thaw out until it's 50 during the day, really sunny, and 40 at night. 2 days of that, I'll be able to get out. But until then, not so much. And like within an hour or two, because like I said, my coat is starting to shine. So that means it's like a barometer too. It tells me when it's going to rain. So, it's supposed to start raining. And what time is it now? 1:30. So about 2:00, about a half hour from now, it's supposed to start raining. And then within half an hour sleeting. And then within an hour and a half snowing. And then it's supposed to snow for 3 days solid. So, good luck with that. So I'm isolated. I got food. I'm semi-warm in my man cave. When it was the other day, it was 28 degrees below zero. Not freezing. 32 is up here. Here's zero. I was 28 degrees. So I was 60 degrees below freezing. And in my little man cave, it was 38. And actually it was, what I would do is I'd kind of go out, just in this, which is an outside coat, but just fleece and, some plasticky thing. And then, it would like virtually freeze stiff. And then I would go back into the man cave where it was 38 and it would be like Bermuda. It's all relative, Hey, Fish. Good to see you, bud. Lana's there too. Lana, good to see you. Emmett, always good to hear from Emmett and Bride. So the cadre is here. It's forming up. How many folks are there? 8. So I'm gonna, until the sleep starts hitting me and getting on my Chromebook, I'll stick around. So I'll be talking for another. So I haven't even done an hour. It's 40 minutes and 40 seconds. I love it when it does that. Now it's 41 minutes and going to be 41 seconds soon. So, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are. Welcome to Dreamy Dreamland with your Sensei Al Bob. Give me some thumbs up, guys. Come on, there's 7 of you. Let's see 7 thumbs up. And if you want to connect to me, where I will get right back to you as best I can. I had to, to get on the, if I can't drive out of here and go to somebody's parking lot with Wi-Fi, I have to walk 2 miles to my neighbor's house where he, lets me sit on his outside porch, and he said, you should live in my house. I'll give you the key. He never gave me the key. Oh, I forgot. And then when he was leaving, when it was snowing, and I kind of had to shamanically lift his car over that iceberg. It really wasn't an iceberg. It was just snow. But he didn't know how to, he had a big F-150 or 250, gigantic bed with nothing in it. And the worst car to drive in snow is a 2-wheel drive pickup truck with only 4 tires, right? And so he nearly slid off the cliff, but I kind of just got him to where he could drive out, because I said, you should wait a few days and then you can just drive out of here, no problem. And he said, no, my girlfriend texted me and said, if I don't come now, I can forget her. I said, well, maybe you should, if anybody tells you that, maybe you should forget him, and didn't do that. And I didn't even say that. The English guy who was down the road, who came with chains. The only reason that guy got out was that the English guy put chains on his tires and put some weight in the back of his he started shoveling dirt into the back of his pickup truck, and he goes, oh, what are you doing? He goes, you need weight on these tires. I mean, and the kid is really a nice kid, right? Really handsome, real Aryan, 6'1", blonde hair, blue eyes, great complexion, rich family, went to prep school, went to Yale, went to, and then his father was a big corporate guy, so he got him a job in his corporation at a pretty good, higher than the average person enters, and he showed himself really capable, so he was up, and then he started jumping from, different business. So now he's making really serious bucks. I mean, serious bucks. But he's still 26 years old and not much experience, except he's really good at jumping from corporation to corporation to get a bigger bonus to join. And so he bumped into me, and he's really, he's got the knack. He's like I was when I met the crone. And, when I last saw her, she said, okay, you need to do what I do. You're more out in the world than I am. You need to start touching people and having them wake up to their true self, right? And so this kid couldn't sleep, meaning his true self was like screaming at him. And so he was having trouble. So I showed him how to meditate, how to go to a Akashic record and wipe, push things under the bridge that didn't need to be right on his plate. And if too bad that if any of you who put my earlier shows, I started this in 2018 on September 8th, and so I had almost 1,200 shows, but I could never get more than 488 subscribers. And people say, I don't understand. I subscribed and then I'm never told. I hit the bell and anyway, so they won't let me get above this because one thing I do have that they constantly say I'm great at is that when you guys watch, you watch the whole thing. And that is like gold to them for advertisers, that there's these eyes watching me, So when I first, when I did the Crone story on Johnny Boy's channel, and 70,000 people watched it, like within a week, it went viral. And then I kind of saw how much he was making, about $1,200 a month off of my stories. And he constantly said, "You're costing me money. Why?" He'd get all upset. And he'd get very upset when people would tell him to shut up and just let me tell the story. So that's, my phone died. I went to my provider. The guy was nice. He gave me a new phone. And I said, "So what's this YouTube thing?" And he said, "Oh, here." And he put it on my phone. He said, "So hold your phone up and you can do a show right on the internet." And which I did. So the first, 600 or maybe less, 400 shows, I was, because I come from a theater background, I come from a TV background, I come from a movie background. I was like way more focused, right? And I was doing a lot of shamanic ceremony on the screen. And John kept throwing me out and throwing me into, harm's way. And I kept, putting that on there. And it was pretty amazing, I'm holding my camera away, screaming and threatening it with a hammer just so, the police would know. And, other people, too. I mean, the other crazy people I would bump into. And I would just, put the phone like in my pocket or lean it on the table. And so that first, 600 shows are pretty amazing. Anyway, about 2 months ago, I kind of said, "Oh, I want to see how many shows I got." And I kind of went to my own channel and kind of went and looked at them, and it stopped. I only have about a year and 3 months worth of shows. Meaning I only have now, 400 or 500 shows. And I kind of, and my Google, half of my Google is YouTube saying, "Hey, don't you want to do this? And don't you want to do that? And if you do this, you do that, blah, 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 spam." And I basically just kind of doop, 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 doop. But then I went on their thing and said, "What happened to my shows?" And what's truly amazing that everything's run by an algorithm. So I got an answer like as soon as I finished and hit enter, like 2 seconds later, bing, it's like this thing, as soon as I go live, within a minute, before a minute, like within 30 seconds, there's one thing there, meaning their algorithm is watching me, right? And anyway, so that first 600, I did a lot of shamanic ceremonies that, it would behoove you to have watched. And I kept saying, you guys should, copy these things down. Ooh, the cold weather is coming in. The temperature just dropped, probably. Oh, it's dropping. I don't have a thermometer, but I can feel it. Your sensei here is quite a sensitive guy. And it's really, it was maybe 41 when I got here. It's probably 28. No, it's not that. It's 30 something. But it's probably below freezing. It's past, it's. So let's see. The sky is totally overcast, but there's still the blue tinge, the gray tinge. It's not there, and the white line across the ridge line isn't there. So probably another half hour. Let's see. Been at it for 49 minutes. So maybe an hour and a half this show. So what do you guys? So 2021, kids. Whee! It's gonna be fun. So I would suggest you go look at these shows and put down on your thumb drives, your CD-ROMs, your hard drives, whatever show. There was a guy named Dragon. He was a great guy. I think he was from Canada or Ireland, and he was really amazing guy. And he sent me, um, about 100 of those his favorite shows of mine on thumb drives. And he sent me art that he did when he was 11, and he drew pictures of me, and he drew pictures of my shamanic ceremonies, and was when he was 11, like 20 years ago, right? And then somehow he disappeared, and he no longer was part of the Kaidas. I wonder where Dragon's off to. And then he appeared on my Gmail, and remember, that's the Dude Awake 42 at Gmail. That's the Dude Awake at 42 Gmail. The Dude Awake 42 at Gmail. And you can go and put stuff on my PayPal there, which would be really, really appreciated, because I'm stuck here and it goes straight into my bank account that, well, not straight to, but kind of, where my electric bill is hooked up. And so it pays my electric bill. So, and that's why I still have electricity, because you guys have paid for it. And thank you, thank you, thank you. Now, I'm not making, and I have to say, no matter what you give me, it's truly, truly appreciated, because most people don't, they don't give me thousands or millions or even hundreds. I mean, some people do, not millions or thousands, but, 100 or $80 or $90, close, anything past $60 to me is $100. So, I appreciate every generosity and kindness that you guys do. And, so Dragon did that, and then he got my Gmail and said, "Why did you throw me up your channel?" And I emailed him and I said, "Listen, I didn't. I love you. You're great. You're amazing." And then he said, "Gee, thanks. I thought maybe something like that happened. I couldn't believe you would get rid of me." And I said, "No, I miss you. And there are a lot of you guys that I miss. And I'm not there that much because I'm kind of restricted by the weather. I either have to walk 2 miles here, or I have to be able to drive out and go 40 miles to a church's parking lot and their Wi-Fi. Anyway, so Dragon and I conversed on the Gmail, and then he disappeared from that. And then he came on as a different entity and said, "This is very strange, because I've tried to get on your things as different things, and for some reason, the internet gods don't want us to talk." And there are about 5 of you who that has happened, and they got rid of half of my shows, right? Because when I went on to Google, when they said, "Do you have a complaint or a thing?" And I said, "Yeah, where did half my shows go?" And they bling, right? I mean, like that, within, seconds, the return came. Well, you don't have, if you had 500 subscribers, you would, we would let you keep, 2,000 shows up there, and if you let us own you, meaning own that, and anything you put up on Google, they own. I don't know if you've read the 7,000 pages of stuff you have to agree to, but one of them is they own it. Well, that's fine by me. You guys want to own this shit? Fine. Because my face is right here, and I don't think they can quite trademark that. And even if they do, every show I do is a shamanic ceremony. So if they were to, own it and put it out, like try to monetize it, it would be like me vaccinating. When I'm doing the show, I am vaccinating the World Wide Web with love. That's why I do this show. So what are you guys saying here? A bunch of you are putting stuff up. I gotta put 5 pairs of glasses to see this. Let's see. Let's see. Hey, Lana, I love you. And there's Fish, I love you. And there's Emmett, love you. And I love Ride. And this is message. Hold. What did he say? I don't know why they put that. Yeah, baby, I love you. Yep, that's the dude awake 42 at Gmail. Yep, that's it. Pretty simple. That's me. And again, so they, instead of letting fish put it up there, they hid it. This message is held in review. So that means none of you could copy my Gmail. I mean, so I'm being restricted. So now here's this old guy who only has 488. I'm 25 subscribers under the 500 limit where they, let me put what I want to put up there without restrictions, or certain restrictions. But, anyway, so why not? A lot of people said, why, you should be, these shows are amazing. You should be viral. And they were, when I was on John Boy's thing, because his channel is fine, because what do you see of John? But, and John is an important character. He is a, what's the right word? A benchmark. He is the canary in the coal mine. When you see him shaving all the hair off his body, when you see him always wearing powdered makeup so he doesn't represent like he's Italian, because he's a handsome guy. You should see pictures of him. He on his channel, he has some of his movies when he was in his 20s. He was a really handsome guy. Italian guys are handsome. That's why there's prejudice against them, because the white, sappy, look like they're about to die, Aryan nation, and I love you guys. I'm German. I am German. That half of me is German, or a quarter of me is German. This part of me is German. My brain, the computer, whereas my heart is Italian, and that's where our souls represent. It's from our heart. When you're representing from the squirrel cage of your brain, I'm sorry, kids, you're not going to have a good time. And that's the kid who, you should live in my house. So he hadn't been here for a month and a couple of days. And, he could have mailed me the key. And no. So anyway, so he's heating it. He's paying all the bills. There's nobody in it. It's got 25 years of toilet paper, and I'm using my hand. But that's okay, because that is if I was in there, I'd be watching movies, I'd be eating lean cuisine. I use up half the toilet paper already by eating it. So that's what this show is about, is that you're reverent and appreciative of what you have. And then you go from there to share it with everyone else. Share that love with everyone else. And the more you love, that Beatles song, the more you love is, that's how so the more you give away. That Jesus said that. The more you give, the more you get, right? And so 2021 is, so these morons, the corporate morons, those 1,000 people, those 80 families, they will not be able to hold on to power. They think by, causing this pandemic, and whether they caused it or not, it looks so much like, if you go to, what's his name? The guy, he was early, back last January, he said, listen, this is coming from Hunan. The first person I really, what's his name? His name, Clive. His is, Clearly Thinking, I think, is his YouTube channel. And he spent the first 6 months of the pandemic, from, January until, May, January to July. He said this is a biological weapon, and this is why. And he had a copy of the 1972 manual on biological warfare from the U.S. Army. And it showed these graphs of how it works, meaning biological weapons don't want to kill everyone. Chemical weapons want to kill everyone, like that, right? That's what the Germans used chlorine gas against the French and the English in the trenches. And they killed hundreds of thousands of guys before they even realized what it was. And it was perfect, because that whole trench thing was part of France, where it was always dank and always foggy, and all, the atmosphere was always heavy. So these German guys would push a pipe miles out close to the trench, open up, and there's pictures of like they had these tanks, millions of tanks that all open up, and a chlorine gas would go through the pipe and come out and just look like fog, kill thousands. Just they drop over. So that's chemical warfare. Biological warfare is designed to get you sick and not kill you, and to be very, very quickly passed on. And that's why most of them are viruses, because they replicate and pass on, and then they start to mutate. And the more the virus, the only way you can stop a virus is dead in its tracks. And what the United States did for that first year was like open up the range, let that virus, yee-haw, like a cowboy, and wee, and just go across the country. And they're, the way that virus was designed, you can tell that it's almost man-made. Clive. Anyway, that guy showed, he took the RNA strand that WHO had published and showed that it had chunks of AIDS. So you would get infected and not get sick right away. B, it had other, pneumonia and other things. So you would get it, it would get into your body, and you just had the sniffles, and over a month it took to like totally infect your whole body. And then it would go to the lower extremities of your lungs, where really you couldn't get it out, right? And so then you couldn't breathe, right? And then you'd either die or get really sick and be expensive to take care of. You'd have to go to the ICU and be put on machines and putting on ventilators. Ventilators were invented to save your life, not to be put on, right? And the more you stay in a ventilator, the more your lungs forget how to breathe. So that's what it looks like. Whether it is, don't believe a word I say. I have no idea. And I'm out in the woods. I'm not in a laboratory. I have no idea. But that guy, so he made a chart on his little whiteboard with the magic markers. And, he went by month, by week. And he said, okay, if we don't do this, this is what's going to happen. Zoop, 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 zoop. And it's amazing because exactly this whole year, you can take what he had on his video and put the stuff that happened this year on top of that thing he had on his whiteboard. It's exactly, it went up and was terrible, and then it came down. And everybody, stopped wearing masks, stop, distancing, stop holding hand, doing all that stuff. Then shot up twice as what it was at the beginning, and then it's going to go down and down and down, and it's just going to, and each shoot up is going to go up. And no matter now, I got the jab, I got it. So what that thing was designed to kill, I'll be protected from. I'm sure of it, right? And it's designed so they can tweak it however they want to, right? And it's, whenever every year we have the flu shot, and we also have there's flu, and then there is the other thing, starts with an E, it'll pop into my mind. Well, that's the Spanish flu, right? So we have been dealing with the Spanish flu now for 100 years, but we just kind of, just get a shot for it every year. Well, and virtually, the flu shots and that, I wish I could remember what they call that, is, pretty much being controlled by an international organization. So it's not that expensive and everyone gets it. And yes, maybe 1 million or 2 people die around the world every year, but it's okay. Well, that's kind of what COVID has been in 2020. But right now in America, it's like a wild cowboy rushing across the thing. And the drag, the way it was set up to be brought out, that our last administration sure didn't spend any money. And, the Star Wars, warp speed. No, they had the cure. In biological warfare, you do not let go a virus into the wild unless you have a cure for it. So they had it, and it's like a single strand RNA. And when Clyde, which that's not his name, but clearly thinking YouTube, And he was very good. He said, all you got to do is wear that mask, wash your hands, wear gloves, don't get close to people, and you will be, 80% sure not to get it. The only real way is like me. I'm like in the woods. I don't see anybody. And whenever I do go to the store, I wear a mask and I wear gloves and I have my little spritzer bottle of, alcohol, and I don't really get too close to people. And a lot of people, I don't know why. The other day, I was, this guy was really, people would say he's, Hillary Clinton would have called him the basket of deplorables, right? And he was arguing with some guy who was, super ridiculous liberal, and he's the mega head guy, right? And they're about to go at it. This guy's wearing a mask. This guy's like virtually, trying to get his clothes and yell at him, right? And I go, wait. And I kind of distract the both of them and take the guy I know who will listen to me better is the guy not wearing the mask. The other guy is like, he wants to prove that he's right and blah, blah, blah. And he's smart and educated and he knows what it's follow the science, please. And so I said to the mega guy, let me read your palm. And so he puts his palm up. And the other guy wants to just keep screaming at us. And I'm put up a shamanic energy field. And like he can't interrupt what I'm saying. I'm not saying don't interrupt, but he can't get in there. And I read that guy's palm. And he's like, wow, are you a druid? I mean, don't I look like a druid? And I said, so you're Celtic? He goes, yes, my grandma was a witch. And he goes, I never tell anyone that. I've told you, I never tell anyone that. I said, no, your grandma was a woman of the woods. She was a crone. A witch is what the Catholic Church called her. That's what she said. So I talked to this guy, for us, I want to really make him feel good. And I say, let's have 6 feet between each other. And he goes, I can't hear you with a mask. So let's say 12 feet with you. So I took the mask off. And, and I had my little spritzer bottle. So I spritzed alcohol on my hands and I'm wearing the gloves and I put it all over my face. And, and I am back. Right. And I have this other mask, like I said, wear 2 masks. I have this other one that is a cloth one. And it's more like it goes around your neck. It's like one of those things, regardless, that cover your whole head. You just have a hole for your mouth and your eyes. Well, this thing, the only thing it goes to, it's open at the top of your head, but it covers your eyes. It just has holes for your eyes. And it basically has the skull and crossbones, the Jolly Roger is on it. Right? And so I first get 12 feet away from this guy. And, we start talking about the crone and mythology. And he knows his mythology, not from a book, but from his grandma. I mean, he is, coming, he's not Christian, and he's actually way smarter than the guy who thinks and by that time that guy is left. But we talked for about, 10, 15 minutes, and I would have talked to him longer as long as he wanted, because he just kept crouching up and I just kept, and he didn't even realize it because we're out, in this strip mall that was like, I don't know, a 1/10 of a mile long, and a big, wide, sidewalk with benches and garbage pails in front of each store and little gardens and the parking lot. And I just kept backing up or moving. And as soon as he got about 6 feet, I would walk 12 feet that way. And then he turned around and he just kept doing that, wanting to get close to me. And when I put the mask up, after about 10 minutes of our conversation, and he wouldn't stay 12 feet away, he said, that's so cool. Where'd you get that? And I said, oh, I basically made it. I said, do you sew? He goes, no, I don't sew. It's for women. And I mean, for a guy who's kind of really smart, I said, come on. Your grandma would have hit you with a stick if she heard you say that. She goes, I know. I said, well, learn how to, make one. All I did was I found an old sweater I had that was really tight knit cotton, and it was rot. It had been eaten away by moths, so I cut it up and sewed it up and used it as a mask. Anyway, so we talked, but for no more than 15 minutes because I walked up and down that sidewalk and then started walking into the parking lot and like trying to keep cars between us. Anyway, and that is the mark of what's going on in the human being, is that there's a really smart guy who was educated who was dumber than a sack of doorknobs. Then there was a guy who was really smart, internally, and he couldn't pick up. Even when I said, "Listen, let's stay socially distanced," he said, "Okay," but he wouldn't. And then he goes, "Where do you live? Can I come visit you?" I said, "No, I don't mind." Reprogramming of the world, which yeah, I mean, I don't mind that. I don't believe in anything, and if you want to be whatever you want to be, that's fine, as long as it doesn't, step on me or anybody else. I don't like it when other people, like the Nazis. If you weren't going to be a National Socialist, you went to a death camp. That's and you know what Chinese are doing to the Uyghurs? We did. The United States did to the Africans. We went over there, took them, brought them here, and treat them like tractors. Yep. Yes, the mega people are just that hurt souls. They're not bad people. And if you let them vent and you just kind of, like that guy, we talked about a lot of things. And when we finally left, he said, this is the best conversation I've had other than I used to have with my grandma. And you have basically, my heart feels so much better and I'm thinking so much clearer. And he was smoking cigarettes. He goes, I'm not going to smoke these anymore. And I'm going to stop drinking. I said, if you do that, that's great. Right. But, don't think you can do it over in one day because those are pretty addictive substances. Just start with baby steps. And that's all we all have to do. We perfect, but we can be the best we can be at the moment, not the worst. And the really smart guy who thought he was smart and he was saving the world by trying to change somebody, now there's a moron. What do you think about the Space Force? Well, we already had one. We have this thing that was started in 1947 called Solar Warden. And that's why our economy is in the ditch, is that we have taken 3/4 of all the wealth of the planet and taken it off planet. And we, the ugly bags of water, this is not who I am. My body is not me. My soul is off in a server somewhere. And that's what the movie The Matrix was trying to tell us, right? And we're put in these bodies. We were put here by love's co-creation so we could learn. But we're so stuck in the materiality of it that we can't learn squat. We're addicted to all of the maturations of the illusion, right? And so we don't learn anything, right? So, our space military, we're already out there. That's what Star Wars was, and that was 40 years ago, 1980s. Kind of whenever anyone says, "Hey, we're gonna do this," they already have done it. The Nazis were in space in the 70s. There were people who, and the Nazis, were not the German people. End of World War II, German people bombed into the Stone Age. Nazis go off planet and won the war. 70,000 Nazis came into the American government and the English government, and that's why we had the Cold War. What better war to have a Cold War with than Russia, that the Nazis had bombed? They killed 60 million. In World War II, the United States had just, we lost 400,000 guys. Russia lost 60 million people. The United States never got bombed. Russia was bombed into oblivion. So if they were bombed worse than Germany was, how could they be a threat to us? We gave them the atomic bomb because the Germans already had scalar weapons. And by 1947, the Nazis, like Hail Hydra, that's why comic books are so amazing, because they really kind of tell you what's going on. And then when they're made into movies like Captain America was, it really, that whole thing was exactly what happened, right? So that's kind of, go rent the 3 Captain American movies and you'll see exactly what's going on. But the one thing they kind of, and everything leaves this out, is this mechanism of love's co-creation, right? So the dynamic is everything is an illusion except for love's co-creation. So when you are, and we are, manifested by love's co-creation, and once we become one love with that, once we, in every day and every way, we take the piece of the earth and we make it stronger with love's, one love in co-creation, bingo, we have peace on earth. And it won't be some stupid, Brave New World, Hunger World, some kind of utopian thing. No, it'll be what it's supposed to be. Love's co-creation. So say we all, right? Let's hear it, gang. So we all, right? So we're already out in space. Go, David Icke, David Wilcox, and his friend Corey Goode. I know a lot of people like Corey Goode. Now, I don't know whether Corey really experienced it or he's just mouthing off what he heard from somebody else and is pretending to be that. But, we've had a space force since 1947. The UN Space Force is out there. Let's see. It's too much to try to fix someone. Yep. But it's good to offer kindness. Yep. And show them their prejudice are wrong. No, just to be the example. Because, trying to show somebody's prejudice is wrong is like trying to fix them. No, it's too tough. But to be a good example where they go, you leave them kind of with, oh, look, the sun is coming out. The sun is coming out tomorrow. Well, it's coming out right now. And that means that sun is going to percolate up the storm. And so it'll probably start sleeting or raining hour or so. And what time is it now? It's not quite 2:00. And but the sun is hitting me now. So if it can stay hitting on me for at least the next, whenever that, solar power is amazing. And you don't have to have it, be a nuclear reactor. No, just have it do a lot of things in between your connection. So now the powers that be are kind of saying, what's he talking about now? Let's see, there's 8 of you there. 4 thumbs up. Hi, welcome to Dreamy Dreamland with Sensei Al-Bab. I am your sensei, your griot to tell you a story. And I would love it if you went to my xratted.blogspot.com and look at my writings. And when you read that word, X-rated, that's what you think it says. But when you pronounce it, it's X-ratted. The 2 R's, X-ratted, right? So the algorithm, when I was talking to someone and they said, oh, just text me the address of your blog spot. I said, just write it down. And they said, no, you text it so I can just, they were that lazy, right? So I said, okay. And I said, so do you have a pencil with you? Do you have paper? Yeah, but just text it to me. And I'm like, okay. So now I can relate to it because I still haven't successfully, launched a Gmail, a letter to someone. I can respond. I can hit that little square that says reply, and I can, respond to them. But I haven't. Who knows? I've done everything people say. Just do this, this, and this, and then hit, and then you should. And no, for some reason, I have no idea. But I can reply, so I can kind of understand that guy who goes, just text it to me. So I tried to text it to me, And you know, my purveyor of my messaging said, "Sorry, we don't, allow pornography." When I put XRATT, they thought it was X. They didn't realize it was X-rated, right? It's also if you hit Griot Publishing, you'll get there because that is the thing inside of Blogspot's little thing of what I had to have like a category. They wanted a category name. So Griot Publishing. So I'm the Griot. I'm publishing Griot Publishing. But the address was X. I wanted to do. I wanted to be cheeky. I can't even text that address to somebody, so I can understand, right? So xratted.blogspot.com. If you put it in the search bar, you'll go right there, or Griot Publishing, right? And so what's his name? Tried to say, so this is your Gmail, and Google wouldn't even let them put that up there. So my Google Mail to me is the dude awake 42 at Gmail. The dude awake at 42. No, not that. The dude awake 42 at Gmail. The dude awake 42 at Gmail. And my publishing is xratted.blogspot.com. So you like these YouTubes, you will love my novels. The two I'm working on now, the last one I worked on, which isn't completely done, but I was done at that point and I started Legend, was Legacy. But I got about 300 pages into Legacy. And so I took the chunks of Legacy that I liked and put it on a new document, and I started writing Legend. And I took other things from other stories and other places and just put it on this clipboard, and then I could transport the clipboard very easily to a new document. Right? So I did that, and then I started sculpting everything into a novel. And the novel is called Our Legend. And what is it when you have a book of short stories? There's a term for it. It's a type of short, a collection of short stories, anthology. So the title of it, when you go to xratted.blogspot.com, you will see it as Legend number 2 and number 6 and number whatever. But when it's going to appear when it's published is Our Legend, Our Legends. I just forgot that word. That's what happens when you get to be 71. You don't lose your memory. You just lose your RAM. The thing that just came out of your mouth, that thing came, So if I forget about it. So the kids, I'm going to leave you with this one shamanic little tidbit. So how to remember, there are people who have photographic memories. But what that, I know, I used to work in hospitals where people were autistic, and also they had autistic people and people with serious Asperger's, and they had people who were dementia. So they were at teenagers all the way to 90-year-olds, right? An interesting group. I have no idea why they put them all together. They didn't even put them in separate wards. They kind of put them all together. And in a way, and they just treated them like a basket of fruit, of vegetables, right? And I was the only person who would go in there and talk like there was a lady, right? Who, if you let her sit in, they had these nice lazy boy, they didn't recline, but they rocked. They were very comfy seats. And all these people rock. So this was a nice comfy chair stationed around the TV that they could rock, right? So there'd be all these people doing this, right? And that kept them quiet. But there's this one lady who would sit in that chair naked, upside down, and masturbate. And she was like this little old lady, and she was the wife of a Baptist minister. And, she took it for 40 years and couldn't take it no more and started acting like she had dementia, and doing these crazy things. So they put her in this place. And so they would just throw they would try and get, and when people tried to force her to sit in a chair like this and not the other way around, upside down, so her legs were up in the air so she could splay her hoochie. Um, um, she could beat the crap out of, like, they had these big guys in white, you know, the caretaker kind of guys who were like really big. They were like, football players who were nasty kind of dudes, and they would have sex with these women, on the side. Everybody knew it, and I was the only guy who kept I got this job to be there all the time. I had my own little apartment, like on the ward, and I would be there all the time, and I'd be there for about 6 days, and then I get 3 off. 6 days, 3 off, and I got paid really extraordinarily well, because um, they paid me for the. I was getting like $18, right? So I got 24 hours times 6 7 days times $18. That's a lot of money. So at least for me, and they paid me in frigging cash because I wasn't even an employee. I was there as I was getting my degree in social work, and I was there as oh uh, just an observer or this or that. I forgot what they called it. This was a term for it. But once I got there, everything calmed down by 40%. And the head guy was a smart guy, and he used to come down and observe me and see what I was doing. And he said, "Can I read your thesis and all the stuff you're always writing? Can you share that with me?" And I said, "Well, I write it into my journals, and basically no one can read my handwriting." He says, "Well, that's fine. I'm going to give you, a table computer. We have there's that computer there that's hooked up to our system, right? And I'm gonna, and we have replaced these a couple of times. I got in the basement a bunch of computers. I'm gonna stick one of them in um, your thing, and I'm gonna put it on the internet so you can look on the internet, and I'm going to hook it up so you can just email me straight your stuff you're writing, and you can keep that computer, you can keep that hard drive. You can here I have this other thing that goes into this what they call a USB port. That is a separate hard drive, which is basically was a big version of a thumb drive, and it had floppy disks. And he said, "Okay." I said, "Great," because I was already at a university writing most of my stuff on floppy disks, and so he gave me that, and I would right away, and he would do it, and it was great because he would comment on it. And so I was having a guy who's been in this field for 40 years, world renowned, blah blah blah, and he was like giving me straight up amazing stuff. And then he was saying, "Well, this is really good, this is really insightful, but in your thesis you should write it this way, so those morons who are going to look at your thesis and grade it will say, 'Wow, he's amazing, he's just like us.'" And that's how I got. I mean, basically, my boss gave me my certificate of having a master's in psychology because I was doing this, and in the way I was doing it, it would take me, 10 years because I wasn't going to school full time. I was working for all these people. So I would take a course here and there and this and that. And it depended on what neighborhood I was in and what was going on. So it would have taken me 20 years to get that degree and, costing me $700 million. And so at one point, my boss said, "Listen, I want you to run a program. But for you to run this program, you need to have a master's." So he just leans down into his drawer, pulls it out, and hands me a uh, a master's in psychology from Duke University through Chapel Hill. So I had both of those entities as my, Valhalla to go to, which were pretty prestigious and still are pretty prestigious programs. So whenever I wanted to do that scene, I just, pulled that out, and I had a couple of letters. I had them in this big frame thing, my thing, showing that I had a master's in social, and letters from these world famous uh, individuals, notorieties of this, saying, "This guy is amazing. If you hire him, you are lucky." And so I would just take this and say, "Here, I think this is says it all." And I could get a job doing that virtually anywhere. And usually they would pay me off the books because it was too hard for them to get me into their system to be approved and do all of that kind of stuff. So, and I would normally not be there more than 6 or 8 months, the longest. And so there I was at this hospital, and it was interesting to see the connection between uh, Alzheimer's, dementia, Asperger's, and the other one that people have, and um, and that is healthcare in a nutshell. It's all related. They're not individual little boxes that you can give somebody a pill for. And everyone in this war um, took drugs, and everyone this nurse Ratchet would come around with this thing, and they all had a cup, and they weren't even numbered. They were just set on this stainless steel tray, and she would just go down and hand the cup. And I would look in there, and they were all different medicines, meaning I would look on each of these individuals, and they were prescribed all these different drugs, right? And how you knew of those, 60 cups, because they weren't lined up in a line that you just went down the line. They were like sitting over at this table or this couch and that. And you just kind of took, and not like from this part of the tray or this part of the tray, but just down the line, right? And once I was there and there for a long period of time, and I was in charge, especially on the weekends, of giving their drugs to them, I really made sure that those people got the drugs that they were prescribed for. And I would, in those, you know, 6 or 7 days that I would be there, by the third day, everyone was kind of getting on board with their drugs. And then I would go away for 3 or 4 days and come back, and they would be like hanging from the chandelier. And there was a book that you had to note everything you gave everyone and pretty much say what you did to everybody, every 2 hours. And if you looked at the book when other people were doing my job or doing their jobs, it said the same thing over and over and over and over again. There was no real description, just same thing, just, you know, shrink speak and over and over and over and over again. And where I was the only one who really took medical notation. Of course, a medical notation, and I wrote it out. And about a year or so after, I was long gone from that place. But I still had friends there who worked there and people, in the biz because I got a position at this hospital where I was like a real position. When I ran this program, those people said, this works so great. We want you to do that in our hospital. We're going to, and I wasn't just there and they paid me a good chunk of change to do my thing. They said, we want you there and build the protocol and build the program and blah, 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 blah. So I did. So I was still and I would go to conferences, right? And I'd never wear a suit. I, basically look like the homeless guy. I basically, and be me. And I so irritated and ostracized all these other people because by me just being me, I'd be on a table kind of discussion, and there'd all be these people being so self-important, and I'd be just me. And just being me so made them look terrible that basically I got ostracized by that. And the hospital I work for, I could still be there today. Um, they said, we're getting a lot of feedback from all these, so we're not sending you to conferences anymore. We're going to send somebody else who works with you, who does wear the suit, who will, lower down on the totem pole, da 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 da. I said, fine, I don't care. And so that was enough space, but still, those people were so annoyed that I was still there that, again, they did the blowback thing. And the guy said, you know, we love you. You do a great job, but I think you've done it. You're a guy who doesn't want to do the same thing over and over. You've done every part of this. You've set it up. You're great. We love you. we're gonna have a little shrine over here for you, but I think it's time to go. And he was right because I was getting antsy to do something else, right? So, and pretty much instead of trying to do what I do within the constructs of that protocol, I do this. And so and that was 1992 when I stopped doing this. I mean, I had all the credentials, all the letters, all the everything. I could have still, but I would have been smashing my head against the wall. And pretty much in the medical model, if you do that, it's a losing proposition because there'd been some. I mean, look at Wilhelm Reich. He discovered orgone, and Wilhelm Reich was like the Nikola Tesla of the body electric. And he basically found that, what is disease? It's the lack of ease, lack of homeostasis in your body that makes you sick, right? And not the fact you need to take this medicine or that medicine. So he made this thing called the orgone accumulator. What's that? Orgone, what's that? Orgone energy, what's that? What is it? Is the energy of the orgasm, and when you are in one love with another Homo sapien, another element of your species, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be male and female. You can still have that orgone energy even with someone of your own gender, because you aren't your body. This is just, a device. You know, it's an avatar, and so um, Wilhelm Reich devised a box called orgone accumulator. And so you had cancer, you had anything wrong with you, you were psycho, you were, schizophrenic, you were any little things that you want to be, you know, put in a box in the medical model. You spent some time in that orgone accumulator, and you were healthy. You reached homeostasis. You were in balance, and the modern pharmacology, petrochemical, medical monster that was occurring in after World War II found Reich as a real threat. Just like in the turn of the century, uh, uh, pretty much all the good doctors were osteopaths. And that was a mixture of whatever modern day medical science there was and old school, acupuncture, chiropractic, herbology, any of the above. And I went to the Osteopathic Institute in the late 60s in Davenport. I don't even know if they still exist. And that was and that's where I learned a lot of I learned to be an osteopath, which took all about, I studied with my sensei, who was a Japanese sensei priest, and I learned, you know, um, you know, uh, Japanese medicine via um, Japanese Buddhism, through the Shinto way, right? And which is more or less shiatsu, which shiatsu is acupuncture without needles. And these are all generalities. Uh, don't believe a word I say. Everything, don't believe a word I say. Everything I say, don't believe a word I say. Don't believe a word I say. Everything is entertainment. Nothing is real. Nothing is real. Nothing is real. Nothing is real. Don't believe a word I say. And good morning, good evening, good afternoon, and welcome to Dreamy Dreamland with Sensei Al Bob. Your sensei, bask in sun all around me is black clouds, except right in the opening space. It has cracked open and there's sun on me, but not over there. And not over there, but right on me. It's keeping me warm and toasty. Because the world, the universe loves co-creation, loves me because I'm in balance. I'm in homeostasis with love's co-creation. So, that sun up there means that there's going to be a pretty strong storm coming because there are all these dark, pretty thick clouds around me, and they're getting toasted up by the sun. So once the sun really goes away, and it's not wanting to go away, man, it is The clouds are moving, but not where that hole where the sun is. And this is showing you. I'm giving you a representation of what you can do if you come into balance with the homeostasis with love's co-creation. If you're caught up in the material world, if you're surrounded by the illusions and that's what you want, you're not going to be too happy, you know? Even if you're kind of a gifted person, like the kid who's I'm sitting on his porch using his Wi-Fi. I mean, which I'm very thankful. You know, he gave me the password. He said, go. But he said, you should stay in the house. And I spent a month and a half. He is paid to heat it. And about 3 weeks ago, I basically came up here to use it. And the electricity, I went online, it wasn't there. And there's a plug outside here. And I plugged the charger in, didn't light up. And so that meant there's no electricity in the house, right? I'm an electrician, I know that. And because that outlet out here is not the same circuit as his Wi-Fi. That's I know that for sure. And so if you have two circuits out, the chances that they blew autonomously and the rest of the house is fine, not really. So the whole house is dark. And at that time, it really wasn't cold. It would be 30 at night and 40 or 50 during the day, And it was that way up until until second week of January. And that's when this happened. And that's when it started to get cold. So that meant the heating system here is down. And if it's not circulating at least some kind of warmth, there are a lot of pipes in this house. And this house is a really old pipe, so the pipes are copper. So and then one night it got down to into the 20s, and this kid would never ever once when he wanted a couple of questions answered, he'd answer the phone. So I texted him. I said, your electricity is off, and you didn't give me the key, so I'm not there watching the inside of your house. And if it gets as cold as it was last night for a long extended period of time, every one of those copper pipes, and they have 3 floors. I mean, really 4 floors. And so the basement where the water comes in kind of has lots of pipes all over it. So that would definitely fill up like a swimming pool. And then the next floor, there are pipes running in all the walls going upstairs to all the bathrooms upstairs. They would all break. And then the ones, it would be one gigantic waterfall of the whole inside of his house. He's got nothing really valuable, but whatever his clothes, is this, is that, it's whatever. He's got some nice couches. And, everything would be one gigantic ball of mold. And, he had just, because he wasn't here, and he had thought he had put the utility on, where it gets drawn from the bank, that he did, but he didn't do that. So he didn't pay the electric bill. They turned it off. And around here we have, robot electric meters. They don't have to come and turn it off. They can do it from the home base. So I called them up and I said, you better call those guys up and have the juice turned on. And so he did, and they said, yeah, I didn't pay that bill, and now I got it all fixed up. I'm sorry you couldn't use it. I said, no, it's not a big deal that I couldn't walk 2 miles to your house and use your Wi-Fi. The big deal would have been, because you didn't give me the key to be inside your house to keep, it safe and watch out for it. Your place, and that you would have been sued. It would have blah, 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 blah. And that's exactly what I'm talking about. By being so concerned by the maturations of the things that are illusions. That's what he is. He's like changing he's got this girlfriend who is like, the, what do we call that? The expose girlfriend, really everything about her is plastic. She was once talking to me about every part of her body, that her breasts, her face, her nose, her hips, her this, her toes have been, changed. And I said, you got a picture of you when you were a kid? Yep. She was a cute person, when she was a kid. And how about Tina? Yep. How about a year or two before you? I said, well, you're really beautiful in this picture. Oh, but I wasn't perfect. I didn't look like so-and-so, And I said, why would you want to look like? And as I had that conversation, she got annoyed with me. So look, the sun is still on me, and the clouds around it are getting darker. And YouTube has taken me off the half of my shows off the air, right? And don't believe a word I say. Don't believe a word I say. Know it in your heart. Okay, let's see what you guys have been saying. It's going to be tough because the sun is right in my eyes. And if I ask, and see, you can't do this stuff like a quick of a switch. If I were to like do what I did to get it to be sunny, to get it to be cloudy, it would start snowing. So let's see if I can. Is there a shade here? Maybe. Okay. Captain Wacky. Yeah. Get in the house. I can't. I don't. Oh, here's Captain Wacky is. Uh, I really think this guy, Captain Wacky, is the person who is constantly the troll, and he just wants the cadre to get annoyed and leave or fight him. So I've learned how to use the three dots. They're almost as good as the three. Let's see what before I get rid of Captain Wacky. And I would say Captain Wacky is John Birmingham himself in one of his multiple personality characters. And that's why he's such a great actor. I mean, if you watch his channel, it's really, you could say it's sad, you could say it's disturbing, you could say things like that. But myself, as a social scientist, say this is amazing. This is like one-stop shopping and looking at everything that's going on in the in our cultural dysfunction. So let's see, who is John? Yep, you are John Captain. Captain probably couldn't take. So this kid he is taking. Let's see, taking about that through when you don't get the attention you need. Yep, exactly. He takes it out on me. Everything. He loves me. I mean, he wants to have sex with me. He's like so. I mean, go watch that channel. Especially go back to the ones where. I mean, he shaved all the hair off his body and then powdered himself like a Japanese geisha. So he would be, like a, crystal marble character rather than a human being. Like really, okay. Let's see what else is Captain Wacky. I turned him into a sock puppet. Okay, Captain, it's time for you to go. Let's see, to remove. Let's see. There we go. We'll just. There we go. So I don't throw him in the garbage can. I kind of hide him. So I can't, he is there for documentation sake. It's like John's everything. I don't get rid of anything. I just, put it off to the side. So when he goes, I never said that, I can just go, boop, boop, boop. See, he said it right there. So see you later, Captain Wacky, and John, if you're still listening, you are my friend, and I don't give up on friends. Now, you've been begging me to come live with you, but you won't promise to not throw me out the minute I show up. And now I have no other place to go. I have very limited resources, and it cost me over $100 just to go visit you. And then I'm 200 miles away from any place to stay. So that's one reason why I don't really go back to John. And I really haven't physically seen John Birmingham in 18 months, right? I've seen him on, YouTube and etc., but I haven't seen him. And, the sad thing is he has two beautiful children, and they're in Texas. And he basically, his wife couldn't take it anymore, and so she went to Texas to live with her family, right? And he's, took them away from me. And when I sold him my school, that really amazing school was mine for about 20 years, and it was built by Inga and George Solanovich. And I just kept it as warehouse slash temple, and and lived there. And John has turned it into whatever, like Pee Wee's Funhouse, and that's cool, because the real essence of that. Oh, the sun is going away, and the black clouds are showing up. So I may have to pack up in the next 15, 20 minutes. Um, and so the real thing about that place and why it's so amazing is because Inga and George Solanovich were true amazing artists in the first person. And they bought this 300 acres up there above Roanoke. And it's where black people used to live. And the Cherokee and the black slaves hid up there because nobody went up there. And it was hard to get to. Just like where I am out here, it's hard to get here. And so, and he found this amazing, it was the Cherokee sacred spot. And he built the school right on top of big rock. And about, I don't know, 60 meters up the hill. And that's why the hill is so important, because from the school all the way to the top of the top ridge of that hill, it is an entity, a spirit. And there is a cave that is exactly the cave that was in Yoda's backyard, where Luke went in and found Darth Vader, and he blew his head off, and his face was in Darth Vader's mask, right? So John is up there in this amazing psychokinetic space, and all he is letting out is what that stuff you see on his YouTube. That's why he is like wacko out there, because that's what's in his id. And because he doesn't deal with the issues that are right in front of him, and then they end up in his subconscious, and then they go into the superconscious, and then the id is the bridge. Or if you're not really there trying to see what's going on in your soul, the id turns into the monsters. There's a great film called Forbidden Planet. Go watch that one, gang. And it's all about the monsters from the id. And that's what John is. That's what's coming out of him, characters like Wacky, Captain Wacky, and Yo-Yo You, and all those other, moronic trolls. And if it isn't John, it is a character like John, right? And they're all what I would call the canary in the coal mine. That's kind of what it is. Ooh, the clouds are getting darker. So I have to walk back 2 miles. So let's see what you're saying before I go. Be good, fool. Let's see. Yes. I love you, Lana. I love you all. Let's see. I can't go. Well, come on. Go up there. I want to see what the rest of you were saying. Let's see. Come on. Do it. Well, I can't do it. I love you guys, though. Everyone who's online, all 8 of you, I love you. I will, hit that bell, so maybe you'll be, whatchamacallit. And I also think that one reason why I only have 488, John Birmingham is truly amazing. I mean, he is amazingly talented. He grew up in a pretty high level middle class. No one's rich in America except, a handful of people. But there's some people who are well off. So he grew up in a well off family. His family did very well. And they're very nice. And he had everything he ever wanted. And his grandmother was an artist, and and his grandfather was a musician. So he's, genetically, he's got some great musician
I mean, he plays the drums like you can't believe. He plays the guitar. He plays piano. Plays everything. He sings. But what does he sing about? Does he use that instrument to, give an outlet for his soul? Nope. He does these, Captain Wacky things, right? He is a filmmaker. He's a pretty good filmmaker. He has great creds. I mean, he went to Cal Arts, and he went to premier filmmaking schools, and he's got an undergraduate degree and a graduate degree, and he matriculated. He's not like me. I kind of just went in there, it was me, and they gave me degrees. That's why I have more degrees than a thermometer. But they're not like I mean, they're all, I've lost them already. And John, 98% of all the material stuff I had, I left at the school. And John has gone through it. And he's found pictures of my grandparents. He found the wedding certificate of my grandparents. And he wouldn't give it back to me. So I own this. I said, what good is it to you? To me, that's my grandma's, well, you shouldn't have it's like, but you were like, like forcing me to get out of me. I couldn't really go through all this stuff, but you said I could keep it here and take it away later. Get out, So, and that's what John has to suffer through. And I really feel for the guy because he has this amazing talent. So when he was, he went off to Texas a number of times. And a number of the times he couldn't even get there, and he would have breakdowns, and he'd end up in, mental institutions in Mississippi. And he was so annoying that they let him go because he wasn't really, he was just neurotic. Serious. John is not mentally ill. He's just seriously neurotic. And and that makes a perfect antenna for being the canary in the coal mine. And so they locked him up for a couple of weeks, so he wasn't around. And this one guy, John was really wanting, to rent this gigantic school, 7,000 square foot, 8 bedrooms and 8 bathrooms and 4 floors and other buildings. He could have a rent roll there. So this one guy came up and said, I really need a place to stay. I said, you can move in. And I needed, to get some medicine. So he bought me my medicine. He moved in. And what did he do? First thing he did, he put in hot water downstairs because he was living downstairs. So he put hot water in the whole place. Second thing, what did he do? He brought a really amazing wood stove and stuck it in the basement and got like, a year's worth of wood outside the door. And you get that wood stove going, and the whole building was concrete and stone. And you heated it was like one gigantic heat sink. And it would, and it was a really good wood stove. And he, in the chimney, he stuck a flue all the way to the top, so the heat would stick in that flue. And the other thing he did, he was in communication, so he put like a gigantic antenna, and he microwaved the internet from his office downtown straight up to the school. And he had a better because he was running his business out of the school, and so he had a better internet connection than you can get than Cox has. He had the same kind of at the front of the pipe. Now, John, so this guy left when he, and John threw him out. Now, this guy was paying him 6 times more what, John asked for. And John felt, no, I said, John, I got the guy in. He wanted to pay this. Don't tell him you can pay. Just let him pay that. That's you want money. You don't have to get more people. Just and he's really, look what he's done while you were gone. And John got jealous that this guy was so great at what he was doing. He's such a great guy and had his shit together so well that he threw him out. But by that time, I found a better place for this guy because John used to sit at the top of the stairs and listen to what this guy was saying on his business calls. I mean, he wasn't talking about John at all, but he was just talking about his business. As soon as John thought he talked about him, he would run down and start screaming at the guy and threatening him while he's on the speakerphone on his business. It's like, really? Unbelievable. And like I said, John is not mentally, it is getting dark. And I can see the snow across the mountains. So, enough about John. I try not to talk about John, right? But he's such an amazing subject that it's hard not to. So, I'm going to say I love you guys. And
Fish, everyone else who's been on, I love you all. And the temperature's dropping like a stone. So like in about 15 minutes, it's going to start snowing pretty hard. And I still have 2 miles to walk. So I have to go. Okay, I love you. And we were on for almost 2 hours. I'm gonna wait about 10 seconds. So, Hail Mary, full of grace, Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou amongst women. Blessed the fruit of thy womb, Jesus. Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners now and the hour of death. Amen. Oh, I can start. The snow is almost here. Oh, there it is. 2 hours and 2 seconds. I love you guys. I'll see you next time. Hopefully, that'll be sooner rather than later.